You've made it here because something inside you knew it was the right moment. Maybe you can't explain it with words. Maybe you didn't even click on this video for a specific reason, but you felt something, as if a silent voice said, "Watch." It's not a coincidence. It's alignment. Life has these subtleties. It calls us with small, almost imperceptible signs just before a major turning point. But that turning point, unlike what many think, doesn't happen in a spectacular way like in the movies. It begins in silence, in discomfort, in confusion. It starts exactly at the point where everything seems about to fall apart. There's a peculiar moment in the path of anyone about to experience real transformation. It's that point where you feel like you're between two worlds, the one that no longer serves you and the one that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. In that space between a tiring before and a still frightening after lives a tension. And that tension can feel like extreme exhaustion, constant irritation, or a sense that everything is spinning without meaning. It's an uncertain territory, like the moment when the night hasn't ended yet but the day hasn't begun either. And in that crossing, it's common to get lost. It's common to doubt yourself. But it's exactly there that the portal of change resides. Maybe you've felt lately like you've been making a lot of effort, but without seeing major results. Maybe you've questioned your choices, or if you're really heading in the right direction. And you know what? That's not a sign that you're failing. That's a sign that you're moving. Because stagnation usually comes with comfort, but growth comes with discomfort. When a fruit is about to ripen, its skin cracks. When the butterfly is about to leave the cocoon, it trembles. When water is about to boil, it begins to vibrate intensely. These are signs of rupture, but also of birth. In moments like this, it's natural to want answers. We want guarantees. We want to hear loud and clear, "It's going to be okay." But life, as generous as it is, doesn't work with signed contracts. It offers us trust. It invites us to leap, and it's up to us to accept or not. The truth is that no external answer can replace internal courage. Because no one lives your story for you. No one feels the pain, the fear, the anxiety, the hope the way you do. And for that reason, the path that opens before you now is yours alone. It may seem invisible at first, but every step you take toward the unknown makes it clearer. Many people give up right at this point, when everything seems to be at its limit, when the pressure is so intense that the heart tightens and the mind screams. But it's at this limit that alchemy happens. It's at the moment when everything seems to fall apart that the internal structures begin to reorganize. Think of a forest hit by a storm. On the outside, everything looks like chaos, but in the soil where no one sees, the seeds are being buried, watered, and prepared to sprout. Preparation is almost never pretty. It's confusing, disordered, and often painful. But it's what defines what comes next. What you feel now, this sensation of being on the edge, is the harbinger of a new cycle. And this cycle won't just be another phase in your life. It will be a turning point, because you're not being called to change something superficial. You're being invited to shed your skin, to leave behind habits, beliefs, fears, and versions of yourself that no longer fit the future you want to build. This kind of transformation requires surrender. It requires presence. It requires that you be willing to step out of autopilot and face what is real, even if that means confronting some hard truths. And make no mistake, to face doesn't mean to fight against. It means to embrace. It means to look fear in the eye and say, "I see you, but you're not going to decide for me." It means to recognize that today's discomfort is shaping the person you need to be tomorrow. And even if everything around you seems uncertain, there is one certainty that cannot be ignored. You are changing. Your awareness is expanding, and once that happens, there's no going back. You might even try to ignore it, try to return to the comfort zone, but something inside you already knows the calling is real. And not answering that calling will be much more painful than facing it. Maybe now you're wondering, but how do I know if I'm ready? And the answer might seem paradoxical. You'll never feel 100% ready, because true progress doesn't wait for perfect readiness. It comes when you decide, even with fear, to take the next step. That's when the magic happens, when you trust the process more than the outcome. when you understand that walking is already a victory, even if you don't know exactly where the road will lead. And if all this resonated with you up to this point, maybe it's because deep down you've already started walking, even if you're only now realizing it. As you approach this transformation, it's natural to feel the ground a bit less steady. The familiar starts to lose meaning, and the new still has no shape. It's like crossing a bridge in the fog. You can only see the next steps, and that requires trust more than any external certainty. But listen, this is not weakness, this is strength. Because only the brave keep walking when the path is not visible. True courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision not to be paralyzed by it. Many times, we mistake this phase for failure. We believe that being confused, not having everything figured out, is a sign that something is wrong. But what if in reality it's the greatest sign that you are exactly where you need to be? Imagine a painter in front of a blank canvas. The first strokes are hesitant, there's no defined shape, and the initial mess may even seem like a mistake. But without that mess, there is no art. Without that void, there is no creation. Confusion is the cradle of rebirth. And here's something important. True transformation is silent. It doesn't happen in grand speeches, nor in moments when everything seems under control. It happens on the days you wake up and decide to try again, even exhausted. It happens when you choose not to surrender to the old pattern, even if it seems easier. It settles in gradually, like the seasons changing without noise. And suddenly, when you least expect it, you realize that you no longer think the same way, that you no longer accept less than you deserve, that you already respect yourself more. Now stop and think. How many times have you moved forward without realizing it? How many internal battles have you won without anyone knowing? How many silent decisions have you made that changed the course of your life? That matters. That counts. And that's why you've made it this far with everything you've lived and survived. That is the weight and strength of your journey. It doesn't need to be like anyone else's. It is yours. And that is enough. By the way, if you've made it to this point in the video, something here is probably touching you deeply. And since we're building this space together, I want to invite you to a simple but powerful gesture. Subscribe to the channel. Yes, now. Not out of formality, but because if this content helps you reflect, listen to yourself, strengthen yourself, then this connection makes sense. And take the opportunity. Tell me in the comments what moment in your life taught you the most, even if it was difficult. Your story might be exactly what someone on the other side needs to read today. Back to your journey. One of the greatest traps on this path of growth is wanting to understand everything before taking action. The mind wants logic, guarantees, safety, but the soul moves with intuition, with feelings that can't always be explained. And if you wait for the perfect moment to act, you might spend your whole life waiting. Because life never hands everything to you on a silver platter. It tests, it provokes, it asks all the time, do you trust me enough to keep going, even without knowing the end? And the answer has to come from the body, from the heart. Because deep down, we all know that the impulse that moves us is more important than the destination itself. The impulse to grow, to seek, to be more truthful with who we really are. And when you align with that impulse, things begin to happen. Sometimes discreetly, sometimes intensely, but always with purpose. That's the moment you need to protect your energy. That means choosing carefully what you consume, who you connect with, how you feed your mind and emotions. Your energy is your most valuable asset during this process, because what you focus on grows. If you surround yourself with voices that make you doubt yourself, with environments that drain your strength, it's natural that the path feels heavier. But if you create an internal and external space of support, everything transforms. And it's not about cutting ties or escaping the world. It's about lovingly selecting what deserves to enter your field. The right book can give you strength for a week. A meaningful conversation can spark new ideas. A simple moment of silence can reorganize your inner chaos. These are small gestures with giant power, and that power is in your hands now. The construction of your new chapter begins like this, with a conscious step, with a healthy boundary, with a choice that honors who you are becoming. Don't underestimate the impact of an authentic move. It has the power to realign everything around you. And that alignment will bring more clarity, more strength, more opportunities. Now that you've understood that discomfort is part of the process and that chaos is a sign of restructuring, maybe there's one question left: how to keep going? How to stay in motion when motivation wavers, when the path feels too long, and the urge to stop comes like an insistent whisper? The answer, as simple as it may seem, is discipline, but not that rigid and punitive discipline. I'm talking about gentle discipline, the one that is born from a commitment to who you want to become. Many people believe they need to be motivated to act, when in fact it's the opposite. Action is what generates motivation. Imagine a dammed river. The water only flows again when you remove the obstacles, even if little by little. The same goes for your inner drive. It needs to be cultivated. And cultivation begins with small daily decisions. Getting up even when you want to stay in bed. Writing even when ideas feel dry. Speaking even when you'd rather stay silent. Every gesture counts. Every choice is a seed. Consistency in these moments is more powerful than any explosion of inspiration, because what truly builds your new reality isn't the extraordinary days, but the ordinary ones. It's the days when you do what's necessary, even without the will to do it. When you humbly repeat a habit that brings you closer to your purpose. These moments are not insignificant. They are the invisible foundation of your transformation. You don't need to change everything at once. The myth of the giant leap often hinders more than it helps. The truth is that the most lasting progress happens in a spiral. You return to the same point, but with a new perspective. You go through the same situations, but respond differently. You recognize the same challenges, but no longer shrink back. That is real evolution. It's subtlety with depth, and it requires patience. Because transformation is not performance, it's process. On this path, it's essential that you observe yourself closely. The internal dialogue is the most sacred space of your mind. The way you speak to yourself, treat yourself, and hold yourself shapes the reality you live in. Words are seeds. If you feed yourself with phrases like "I'm not capable," "This isn't for me," "I always mess up," no motivation can survive. But when you begin to replace those scripts with more truthful and generous words, "I'm learning," "I am enough," "I deserve to try again," your energy shifts. And with it, everything around you begins to shift too. Another element that supports your drive is your environment. You don't grow in a vacuum. The soil you plant in needs to be prepared. Look at your surroundings. Do they propel you or hold you back? Do the people you interact with feed your dreams or cast doubt on them? What you consume, read, listen to, does it expand you or drain you? This curation is fundamental. Because even when everything inside you wants to grow, if the environment doesn't cooperate, the path becomes slower, more arid. It's not about cutting out what doesn't serve. It's about choosing what strengthens. It might be a playlist that calms you, a podcast that inspires you, a corner of your home where you feel peace. It might be a new morning routine or the decision to limit conversations that only drain your energy. These are details, but each detail carries weight, and together they create the right setting for your change to bloom. And here comes something often forgotten: rest as part of discipline. Resting is not stopping. It's recovering. It's taking care of the body and mind so that you can continue. In a world that values speed, resting has almost become an act of rebellion. But without pause, there's no breath. Without silence, there's no clarity. You are not a machine, and even machines need maintenance. So honor your cycles. There are days for planting and days for watering, days for movement and days for contemplation. This harmony between action and pause is what will keep your journey sustainable. Because it's not about getting there as fast as possible, but about arriving whole. And more than that, about enjoying the path. Because the progress you seek is not just a destination, it's a state of presence. It happens when you stop chasing something outside and start building what you need within. That's when everything starts to align. Opportunities arise, the right encounters appear, ideas flow. Not by chance, but because you've become compatible with what you desire to live. And remember, when things seem too disorganized, it doesn't mean everything has gone wrong. It may just be the beginning of a new order. A bit like renovating a house. At first it seems like nothing will fit. But gradually the spaces take shape, and what looked like ruin reveals itself as a fresh start. You are in this process, and the discomfort you feel now may just be the sound of your life reorganizing from within. Getting this far is, in itself, an achievement. But there's something important that many people forget after taking this decisive step toward transformation. Progress is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new phase. Many people, upon reaching what they longed for, relax in such a way that they lose the momentum they built with so much effort. Not for lack of will, but because they believe, even unconsciously, that now everything is settled. But the truth is that life keeps moving, and you need to move too. Complacency is subtle. It doesn't arrive with noise. It settles in the small thoughts of, "I've done enough," in the days you stop taking care of yourself because you've already made it. But complacency, though it may feel comfortable, steals something precious: your expansion. Because you weren't made to stop. Your growth has no expiration date, and every achievement you reach is, in fact, a springboard for new learnings, new versions of yourself, new levels of awareness. Progress, no matter how significant, needs to be sustained with intention. That means nurturing the practices that brought you here. It means not forgetting the path you've walked. It means using your success as a foundation to go further, not as an excuse to settle. When you adopt a mindset of continuity, everything changes. Victory becomes a platform, not a pedestal. You don't see yourself as someone who arrived, but as someone who continues evolving. And to maintain that evolution, self-care becomes essential. Maybe along your journey so far you had to push yourself more than you'd like. Maybe you slept too little, ignored your limits, neglected important moments with yourself. And now, more than ever, it's time to recover, to recharge your strength. Because success, to be enjoyed, requires presence. And to be present, you need to be whole. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It's what allows you to keep moving forward with clarity and balance. Take time for silence. Allow yourself to breathe, reflect, be grateful. The body speaks too, and often it signals what the mind insists on ignoring. Pay attention to the signs. Self-care is not just spa days and rest. It's also saying no when necessary. It's protecting your boundaries. It's honoring your energy. It's celebrating your victories, even the smallest ones. Because every step you've taken to get here deserves recognition. And maybe, more than ever, this is the moment to share, to open up your journey, your discoveries, your turning points to others. Because when you speak your truth, you give others permission to do the same. And that's how a community is born, not just of followers or viewers, but of human beings who grow together, learn together, and inspire one another. If this video has stayed with you until now, if it made sense to you on any level, I want to invite you from the heart. Subscribe to the channel. This is not just a technical gesture. It's a sign that you want to keep walking with us, that this space made sense to you and can make even more in the future. And since we're talking about exchange, leave a comment below. What did you learn most from this video? And what part of your story do you feel could inspire other people? Tell us. Let's grow together. Here, every comment is a seed planted in fertile soil. And who knows, what you share today might be exactly what someone on the other side of the world needs to read to not give up. Sometimes our story is the lighthouse that lights someone else's path. The journey you started doesn't end here. It just moved to a new phase. What lies ahead is more than a destination. It's a continuous construction, and you have everything you need to keep going. You've proven it to yourself countless times, even when you thought you couldn't. Now take that certainty with you. You are stronger than you imagine, more prepared than you appear, and more capable than you allow yourself to believe. And if one day you forget that, come back here. This message has no expiration date. It was made to remind you that your great progress was never luck. It was worthiness. It was awareness. It was courage.